Was there ever a more arresting opening of a piano sonata? This is truly Beethoven with a new message, going on from the sonatas of Mozart and Haydn into completely new realms and addressing a message in a different way to the message that those composers and earlier composers were addressing. We're on the cusp of the 19th century, the new century, when the aristocracy and the church ceased to have overall control of everything. Composers didn't only write for aristocratic patrons and the church, but increasingly they were addressing everybody. The burgeoning new middle classes, often who had pianos in their own homes and would like to play the new pieces of Beethoven, and with a message of seriousness and earnestness and a kind of personal expression that is not greater, because nothing's greater than Mozart and the greatest of Haydn, but a new kind of expression, more personal, more intense, and more emotional in a sense. So Beethoven published this sonata in 1799. The sketches for it date back to about 1796. They're a little bit obscure. We can't exactly find how the whole genesis of the sonata, but we're talking about that kind of period. He'd already published, how many piano sonatas is it? The 3 of Opus 2, Opus 7, and the 3 of Opus 10. So there were already 7 sonatas, and then we come to the great Grande Sonate Pathétique. This is the second sonata to be called a great sonata, standalone. It's the only piece in that opus number, the other one being the wonderful and sadly underrated E-flat major Opus 7. A large 4-movement sonata, one of the longest of all the sonatas and one of the most impressive. So Beethoven gave that its own single opus number, and he did so again with Opus 13. What does the title mean? It doesn't seem that it's originally from Beethoven, but it was given probably by the early publisher, and Beethoven seems to have gone along with it, and everybody has thought since then that this is the Pathétique sonata. So it means that it's dealing with the emotions of pathos. It's a very good dictionary definition of that. Pathos, pathetic, affecting the emotions of pity, grief, or sorrow. So we could say that that is certainly the case for the great first movement, which, if you do all the repeats, and I'll come to that later, takes fully half the length of the sonata. In the beautiful, wonderful, famous slow movement, we could say that this is to do with feelings of pity, compassion, and the finale, lighter for sure. I will come to that because I think it depends how we play it. But this is a lighter, almost half humorous pathos, but still there's a pathos here. So overall, we have a sonata concerned with very human feelings of pathos, empathy, sympathy, sorrow, all those things. This is perhaps the second most famous sonata for the general public after the Moonlight. The Moonlight, I would suggest, is overall a less fine work, less finely realized, less finely integrated than the Pathétique. We have the absolutely famous first movement. Perhaps the most instantly recognizable piece of classical piano music in the world. And then slightly lightweight minuet and trio and a very stormy finale. Of course, it's a great work, but the Pathétique, I think, is more integrated and more beautifully realized. Truly an epic and wonderful masterpiece.